Let me ask you something. When was the last time you walked into a room and immediately felt calm? Not impressed, not overwhelmed, just calm. That feeling doesn't happen by accident. It's designed. And in a word, where every interior trend has a 6 month shelf life, today's guest is building spaces that are meant to last decades, not seasons. She calls it quiet luxury, design that doesn't shout, it whispers. Surya Sharma left a career path in health sciences, traveled the world studying architecture, and built a design firm in Orlando rooted in one belief: the best spaces don't follow trends, they outlast them. This is Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, and today we're exploring the art of antiquing and timeless spaces with Surya Sharma of Cashmere and Co. My guest today has one of the most unexpected paths into interior design I've came across. Surya Sharma studied health sciences at Stetson University, a path that had nothing to do with design on paper, but everything to do with how she thinks. That analytical, systematic mind is exactly what she brought into the world of interiors. She pivoted, traveled globally, studying architecture, history, spent time in New York absorbing contemporary design culture, and launched Cashmere and Co. right here in Orlando, in our very neighborhood. Here, her specialty: quiet luxury. Surya creates spaces using high quality materials, antique finds, and personalized art that create what she calls timeless, blended aesthetics. Rooms that feel like they've been collected over a lifetime, not ordered from a catalog. Surya, welcome to the roundtable.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, that was perfect. Not everyone gets it right, but that was really good.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So where does the name come from? Cashmere and Co.
Actually, it's not that deep. It's my dog's name. His name's Cashmere, and he's like a bougie little poodle. And I'm just like, I love Cashmere, so that's going to be the name of my firm. Actually,
Awesome.
my sister picked it. Yeah, so I
Plus,
love the
it
name.
goes with design, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it kind of sounds a little Indian because I'm Indian, so kind of works.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does.
Yeah.
You studied health sciences at Stetson, about as far from interior design as it gets. How does that analytical, scientific background shape how you approach space planning? And do you think about a room the way a scientist thinks about a system?
So for me, I do have a very analytical, practical mind, which is why I kind of was in health science. And as much as I loved like memorization and all the rigid studying, I actually enjoyed it. I always felt antsy to be a little more creative, work on projects. So I will say I do think there's not that many common grounds between health science and interior design, but I do think precision is a huge factor that is like very similar between the two. There's a lot of skill that goes into making something look effortless and lived in, and it is a science. So you do have to think of a ratio between textures and materials, and it really needs to be understood for for a space to feel balanced. I would also say that thinking on the spot was like a huge factor that I learned in college, which helps me right now in my career because a lot can go wrong like in a lab, but a lot can also go wrong on a project site. So I think being in health science like taught me to use my resources around me and kind of make the best of what's given in the situation.
What do you see in a floor plan that a traditional designer might miss?
That's a good question. I think I think a lot of people are intimidated by certain floor plans. If a space is too small or too big, they might feel a little overwhelmed with like what decisions they have to make. I think really like analyzing the client's lifestyle and hobbies and preferences is like the best way to go into a space and kind of make it as functional as possible for them. So I try to take the best out of every corner of any floor plan and make it feel really inspiring for them.
Give me an example of how does the scientific thinking show up when you're planning a room?
So for example, a lot of times people, when they hire a designer, they think that everything needs to be new. And they're like, you're paying for someone's service, you kind of like crave everything to be new and you want it to look like a showroom when you walk in. But at the end of the day, I think when you buy everything that's mass produced and like manufactured from all these like big brand stores, things can look very stale. So there is a very specific ratio on how to make things look very like effortless and lived in. So I would incorporate maybe a little 20% of vintage items, maybe some heirloom pieces from your grandmother's house, your mother's house, maybe like display your wedding china or use your wedding china like when you're styling, and then kind of mix it in with newer pieces. So it's kind of ironic because the point is for it to look effortlessly like chic, but it's actually quite precise and kind of reminds me of chemistry. So like,
It does, it does.
yeah.
I always think about when you talk about your part of this business and what you're trying to create for people. I think about the old world. I come from, a really old country, Hungary, and we have those. Like, so when they renovate the old buildings on the inside and redesign them, they incorporate all these classical features,
Yeah.
and it makes it feel effortless. If you look at the massive buildings, the castles, and all that stuff that they renovate and then redesign and then put some of the old antique things in there, it does feel like, oh, this belongs here, and it feels really cool. And I would want to sit down on this chair or on the sofa, and a lot of them are not even old pieces. They're brand new pieces created in the old style.
Yes,
You know,
exactly. And there's something very nostalgic about having just elements in your home that kind of feel a little older. I think it grounds you a little more. So I completely agree with what you're saying. And it's all about using natural materials, I would say, is like my best piece of advice to making a space like actually like grow and evolve over time.
I mean, yourself, you come from an ancient culture too.
Yeah.
India has been around for a long, long time, or Indian people as a culture, and being where you guys are situated in the world map, you have one of the thriving first civilizations of the world almost next to you. Still a few thousand miles away,
Yeah.
but Mesopotamia and then all the cultures over there, and you're thriving, getting from that culture, the carpets, all the other things. I love that you're bringing that kind of thought into a modern setting.
Exactly. And I think in a world where everything is like manufactured at such a high scale, I think going back to supporting local vendors or maybe vendors back home, your local ceramic studio, I think those are the things that actually will make your home feel interesting over time and make it feel and give it character. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. You travel globally and spent time in New York studying architecture. What specific lesson from those experiences inspired you to launch your own firm? And was there a specific building, a city, or a moment abroad that changed everything for you?
So I didn't actually spend time in New York. My dad's from New York, but I go there pretty often now, like especially in my 20s. And for me, traveling is the best investment of your money. If you have extra money to spend, I know it's a huge privilege, and but I really hope it's something that people get to experience at least once. Even leaving Florida and taking a 2 hour flight to New York is like enough to re-inspire me for like the entire year. My parents are big art collectors, and I have two sisters, and they've taken us to, one of them works with me. They've taken us to museums our entire lives. They've taught us about antiques, artifacts, paintings, and it's really shaped my perspective on what gives design its edge. So even though our firm is relatively new, we actually haven't really gotten the best chance to fully like show our potential for like the balance of artifacts and new world furniture. But I think this one project we're working on in Winter Park, when we do publish it, will be a very good example of that perfect balance. New York for me, I don't know, it's kind of like a chunk of Europe, but like in the middle of America. It's still new and it's like trendy, but at the same time you have that beautiful wallpaper in the bars and the ambient lighting. It's just there's something like very sexy about the city. So I think that's what kind of inspires me. It makes the old world feel young and current. So that's why I love New York.
Oh, I like that observation. I've never heard that because I grew up in an old world country, where all the
Yeah.
buildings are old. And we have 1,000-year-old buildings or 5, 6, 700-year-old buildings, let's say that. And I thought New York was like all modern, but as you're saying, on the inside, it's old world. because the
It's
people that
old
came
world
over
meets
to New
new
York,
world.
yeah, when they built New York, people that came over brought that with them, and that's how New York was built by the people
Exactly.
that brought that with them. So I could
Exactly.
see that definitely. It makes a lot of sense.
It's
Um,
it's it's great. It's the perfect balance between like maybe like a nice trip to Europe mixed with some like fun aspects of Miami. It's like the perfect like blend.
that's cool. What was the exact moment you realized your true calling was curating timeless spaces rather than pursuing a science career?
So I've always known that design was going to be a part of my life to some degree. I remember when I was younger, I'd rearrange my room like in the middle of the night. That was like the highlight of my week. I always loved design. In a family full of professionals, my mom's side is they're all attorneys. She's an attorney. My dad's side are doctors. He's in business. It was a little hard to kind of stray away from the traditional design career path. But I think in my mid 20s, I gained a lot of confidence. And it was about two Christmases ago, we went to stay in a chateau in France for the winter holiday. And I was so inspired. And again, I came back antsy and I really wanted to do something. And my fiance boyfriend at the time, he submitted an application of mine to an interior design firm without telling me. And he, for whatever reason, they accepted me. They were like, come work with us. And I had zero clue. I didn't even know like what was going on. And when I started working for them, I realized I could do this on my own. And it was like second nature to me. I don't even think I worked there for more than a month. And I was like, I just want to do this myself. Opened a firm. And within the first 2 weeks, we had like clients. So it was great. It was like the best decision he's made and I've made.
What a surprise.
Exactly.
Here's your new career, baby.
I know. At that point, I was still pre med, or like I was going into medical school, and then all of this happened, and I was like, I think this is like my chance to pivot. And I'm so glad I had the confidence because I think if I was younger, I wouldn't. I'd still be scared. But because I was in my mid 20s, a little more mature, I'm so glad I pivoted because I'm so happy now.
I think you're going to make a lot of people happy with your career
Thank you.
change. So you brought this scientific mind and this global perspective into design. Now let's talk about your philosophy because you have a very specific one. Let's define it. What is quiet luxury in residential design and why does it resonate with high-end clients?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I think in a world where everything is like produced at such a high scale, I do think people are craving a little bit of like a timeless touch in their home. That's like the balance I was talking about earlier. In like a dream world, my clients would like a few new pieces like beds, pillows, like linen, stuff like that, and then let me mix it with some vintage or like antique pieces. I think luxury for me is to wake up in a space that actually feels like your own. And maybe as I'm drinking in a to go cup, maybe like not put your coffee in a to go cup and put it in a teacup and enjoy it in your sunroom or in your like living room and just love the simple pleasures in your home. It's not only about arranging furniture, I think it's more about creating a lifestyle that highlights the simple pleasures. So for me,
Is it
quiet luxury, I
is
do.
is it minimalism or how is it different from minimalism? Is there something?
I think minimalism, it's not like a bad thing, but I think it's a very like pared back lifestyle. Whereas for me, I think just going the little extra mile is so key in making the best memories. For example, we grew up in a house where we always ate dinner together, and my mom laid the table every single night. She still does. She uses her fancy china. It's a little bit, I know like you can't do that every day because people have work and kids and jobs and you don't want to like hand wash everything.
That is
But she
not true. I do it
always,
every day too.
that's awesome. And you're European, so like you
Yes,
get.
I. So is my wife.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's just something that society, especially in the States, like it lacks a little. And she'd make fresh bouquets, and I grew up making fresh bouquets and laying the table and using your napkins. And that is luxury. It's luxurious to sit with your family and light a candle and have ambient lighting and have this beautiful meal. And I think my goal is to be able to set up a space for my clients to be able to do that, kind of take the stress out of like planning, blah, 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 just so they have the pleasure to be able to do that, the small things.
I love this idea, and I always say this. It doesn't have to be out of a to-go box. If you get stuff from I don't know Publix or wherever and bring home the food, you can still plate it on a plate and
Exactly.
eat a normal dinner with your family. And it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be luxury to sit down with your family and have dinner together. I think
exactly.
it's one of the best places to raise your kids.
It
and
really
teach
is. And the
them
home is
important
important.
life lessons. Yeah, and talk, have conversations with your
Yeah,
family.
exactly.
That's where you get together and how was your day and yours and yours and how can we help? How can I solve your problems? That's the dinner table.
And I do think that a lot of homes there's a lot of stress when like designing a home, especially when you and your partner don't see eye to eye. And I do think that could really like fracture a home in a way when everyone's kind of eating separately. Like, no, the dining table doesn't work and this, that, it's not aesthetic. I think it's so important for your home to feel anchored and feel like yourself. So you're raising great kids. Everyone's feeling grounded when they come back. It's a safe space, it's a beautiful space, and beauty actually matters. And I think we need a lot more of it in this world.
So in my interpretation here, quiet luxury equals premium materials, restrained palette, quality over quantity. It's cashmere, not polyester.
Okay.
You know, that's what you're thinking too here, or am I getting that right?
I think luxury could mean something different to everyone. I don't want to be that one designer that says, look, you have to drop like thousands of dollars on linens and this and that just for your space to feel luxurious. That's just not the case. My philosophy is I work with clients on a spectrum of budgets. I would be down to go to a thrift store with you right now. Let's go find some good crystal, incorporate it into like your nice like West Elm table set, and that's luxury. That's already better than like just buying everything like pre-manufactured, you know? So I think it's very attainable for a lot of people. I think when you like naming like all these materials, it sounds like very like unattainable for a lot of people. But if you have someone to help you, and someone with the eye and to help you curate these pieces, it's very, very attainable for a lot of people.
So here's a challenge. How do you design an entirely neutral space without making it look flat, cold, or like a hotel lobby?
Mm.
And what's the secret to making neutrals feel warm and alive?
I actually love this question, and it's a great question because there's a lot of buzzwords like sad beige and millennial gray and this and that kind of like scare people from having a fully neutral space. Like again, it's a trend. Like people are like they go from minimalism to neutral to maximalism, and it's a whole spectrum. But I think neutrals could actually look very chic, especially if you pair them with, I would say, like substantial wood furniture, like darker wood furniture to contrast everything, and pair those pieces with nicer materials like cotton and stone. From there, I would say like the styling should have a little more personality. Like instead of buying maybe the same Target vase that everyone has, go to a ceramic studio, get like a one of a kind piece, pop it onto your coffee table, add for neutral spaces, especially, add as much greenery as you can. Do the oversized branches, put a tree in the corner, have some pretty flowers on the table. I think it'll add a lot of life into your space. And I think lighting is a huge factor from preventing a space from looking cold. I think ambient lighting and low lighting is the best way to go. I typically turn off the overhead lights, like put my lamps on, light a few candles, and that's your space will look warm and cozy and inviting.
So the secret is get the proper lighting and highlight features, not
Exactly.
overwhelmed.
And I
Correct?
think have like unique one of a kind pieces that you yourself love. If you're traveling and you really love neutrals, maybe like pick up a nice neutral sculpture, bring it back, or a nice like box. I think like staying away from all the like little tchotchkes from like home goods and stuff. I think that's what makes a neutral space feel flat. I think like having more personality is the way to go, even with neutrals.
Got you. When selecting textiles and textures, how do you balance everyday functionality with that premium high quality aesthetics? Can a home with kids and pets still feel like quiet luxury?
I think so because, well, durability is super important. I've noticed that a lot of my clients like tend to go for performance fabrics over anything else. But for me, I think when your home evolves with you is when it looks the best. For example, if you have marble countertops in your kitchen, I'm not too afraid of a little ding on the marble or a little spill on the marble because I would rather look at a home and like think about all the memories I've had in this home than have like a super sterile kitchen that feels like soulless. So once I explain this to my clients, I think their mindset switches from let's try to preserve the space and make it look like a hotel lobby to let's start like making memories in this space. So even like in terms of practicality, it doesn't sound too practical, but I like to pull everyone's like china out and have it accessible for them to use because once your space is complete, and you actually have the energy and time to like think about like maybe setting up a nice table or something, having your china right there to be able to grab and lay on the table, that's practical for me. So durability for me, like I'm not, my home's not too precious. It's precious in my heart, but it's not precious like where I have to like scrub like a stain and like be fanatic about it. So that would be like my answer, I think.
What materials look expensive and survive real life?
Oh, I think limestone is great. Any sort of marble. I personally like darker wood floors. I think lighter ones show a lot of like dings and like a bit too many dings and scratches, and you might be able to see your dog's fur all over the house. But I love dark wood floors. I think it makes your home look like any country in Europe. So, what else? I think using nice cottons and down cushions, I that would really like elevate your space.
Okay, let me put this out there so everybody knows. I have two kids. Okay, I have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old, and you guys already know that because you listen to my podcast. I buy decent high-end European furniture in my house, and they survived all of it through the 2-year-old's crazy stuff, 2.5 now, and my 7-year-old from growing up all the way to 7. They don't draw on it, they don't paint on it, they don't
That's
scratch
amazing.
it. They know that it belongs to the house, and yeah, and they respect it because they grew up with it.
That's personally like okay, if you were asking me, that would be my answer. Like you have to keep your kids in check, but I can't tell a client that.
No, you can't. But if they see it and they respect it and
Yeah.
you pay attention to, hey, kiddos, don't do that around that item because, and you make them aware of that has
Yeah.
value instead of just, some sort of value. Like, hey, would you like me to rip your doll's head off? No, I don't like you to draw on my furniture either, kind of deal.
So
So it's just putting it into perspective for a child that it's not a material that they should mess with or
I
an
agree.
object in the house. And they get it, they get it after, the small one was, harder to boy, it was a little bit harder to get into it, but now he understands it. He accidentally breaks toys all the time,
Yeah.
but he would not try to destroy any of the furniture pieces, which
Right.
is awesome.
Right.
You
That's
know,
the way
none
it
of
should.
my kids ever drew on a wall
Exactly.
because we
That's,
give them a paper and a pencil, and this is what you draw on, and they
I
understand
completely
that.
agree.
You
Yeah.
know,
You pretty much train your pets and your kids.
kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that you can afford to have nice pieces in your home, even if you have small children, as long as you can raise them in the way that they will pay attention to
I agree.
your items in the home, and they will respect it. That's what it
Another
is.
thing is my parents, they collected artifacts and art their entire lives. They taught us the value behind pieces and the history behind pieces. And I think for my sisters and I, we were so intrigued and like excited about the new pieces they'd bring home that we weren't bad kids anyways. But yeah, my parents did teach us a certain level of like knowledge and respect in the house. So
Yeah, and it will get you to the next level if you pay attention to those small
exactly.
nuances at home. I think if you're like trying to break out of that average person kind of feel and you want to get into a different state of mind, which is comes with growth, you're growing business or you're getting promotions at work and you want to keep up with the Joneses, so called, like with your
Yeah,
peers. You're going to do that stuff, and if you're doing that, you got to pay attention to how to do that stuff with your family as well, so the
right.
family follows you in the endeavors as well. I think that's really important. So, quiet luxury is about intentionality, not just aesthetics. Now, let's talk about something you feel strongly about, the difference between trends and timelessness.
Okay, so I personally stay away from trends in all aspects of my life, fashion, house, home stuff, everything. And well, it's fun in like terms of accessories, like maybe like a belt or a pillow or something, but trends are marketing techniques. They're really like force advertising these like products or styles to wipe the shelves clean and then they last about like 2 3 years and it's done. So for me, I think just maybe being a little more intentional with what pieces you're putting in your house will actually make your home last a lot longer and make you feel a lot more settled in your home and not feeling like you need to like change the paint and change the cabinets and change the decor every 5 to 10 years. So I think if you pick things that you like, you go thrifting, you paint some art, you support local vendors, you put whatever colors you like in the space, your space will never feel like a trend because you're not a trend. So I don't think copying other people is necessarily the way to go. I think it's good if you're like kind of learning a few like techniques about design and how to style a shelf and this and that. But as long as you're filling it with personal things, your home will never be trendy. It'll always be timeless. And timeless looks so different like on a spectrum. It doesn't mean it's all historic with like these stone countertops and this and that. It just means it's like unique to you and it's not easily like reproduced by other people or replicated by other people.
Got you. And what trends from 5 years ago already look dated in today's
Oh
market?
my god, I don't want to sound like a hater and I feel like I might, but I think, and we just talked about this, but I think like the sad beige aesthetic or like the Nancy Myers aesthetic, like all those buzzwords, it's just a bunch of people who went out and, again, no shade because the homes do look great, but it's all the same stuff. It's like you bought the same vase and you put the same flower arrangement in there and it just looks stale. So I think there has to be some sort of individualism, and I think like the Ralph Lauren aesthetic. I love Ralph Lauren's design style, but it's different than like the TikTok Ralph Lauren aesthetic, you know, the same like plaid pillows and the same like horse print like over your bed.
Teddy bear, sweatshirt.
It was so heavily done. I think take essence from these designers. Take a little essence from Ralph Lauren, take a little essence from Nancy Myers if you love her, put the picture frames up, but not so much like copying them like completely, you know?
Got you. And how do you spot the difference between a trend and a classic?
Well, that's a good question. I think a classic would be something you've seen repeatedly throughout history in books, in magazines, in movies, and museums. I think it's just something that is more individual again. A trend is something you'll see too often, and it's something that you'll kind of notice like, oh, everyone's talking about this. Whatever, why does Target have this on their shelf right now? If Target has something on their shelf, I'm going in the opposite direction. Like that is becoming a trend, and I just don't, not that it's a bad thing, but I just think it's actually a lot easier to just buy things that you actually like. A lot of people think like it's just easier for like Joanna Gaines or someone to give me the complete recipe of like the perfect like farmhouse style house and this and that, but it's actually a lot easier to go to a store and gravitate towards something you actually like and fill your home with that.
Got you. I'm into the mid-century modern stuff. I don't
Love
know.
it.
I love the wood, and it's kind of like a modern mid-century, like super modern, because it has the white glossy cabinet kind of style
Yeah.
with the old looking wood, the brassy gold fitted, fixtures,
And high quality
frames.
wood. And it's mostly handcrafted, so
Yeah,
definitely timeless.
I'm into the European furniture stores
I love it.
for some reason, like low profile beds instead of the high beds and stuff like that.
And it lasts forever and it'll always look good and it'll always feel like a little unique. The goal is for someone to walk in and be like, oh my God, where did you get that? I've never seen something like this. You know?
Yes, and we get that question a lot when they come to our house because everybody goes to Rooms to Go and Ashley's
Exactly.
and
Do you
they
have one
all
of
have the
those
same
beds
stuff.
that goes into like the nightstands?
Yes, I have a bed that has a nightstand
Yeah, yeah.
all the way and a big back with cushions falling over, beige cushions falling over the wood back.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
and I put slats on the wall that are also the same special oak looking slats behind the bed all the way to the ceiling and the front of the tray. So it looks like, and then beige curtains, gold rods.
That's awesome.
Yes, I'll send you a picture of
Yeah,
it.
I
I
need to
think
see
you'll
that.
like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It comes out really good all together combined look. And I painted blue behind the slats, like this. Like you can't see it behind me, but it's like this darker, like not navy,
I like what's going on behind you too.
royal. That's just some of my
No,
stuff.
I love it because, like, see, I can tell who you are by looking at that shelf. I see your awards, I see certificates, I see. Is that you back there?
Yep, that's me in the magazine, front
See,
cover,
that's so cool. It's not.
articles,
Yeah,
stuff like that. I got my golden elephant that I
love
love.
it.
Yeah. You've argued that timelessness is the most sustainable financial investment. So you've argued timelessness is the most sustainable financial investment a client can make for their property. Walk us through the math on that. And how often does a trend chaser redo their home versus your clients?
We just touched on this. I wouldn't want to design a space where in 10 years someone comes in and says, okay, I need to rip this out. I'm so sick of it because it's so overdone and it's dated. So I think I would advise people to invest in higher quality metals, brass, copper, nickel. I think those will always evolve with you and age with your home. And I think, again, stone countertops, including some limestone, some nice pavers, like really invest in your landscaping too, because that can really like make your home feel very substantial. I think these would be timeless bases that people can grow around, and most design aesthetics would kind of like be able to morph into. So nothing like with a crazy pattern, or I wouldn't go with like a crazy backsplash that people are just with a chevron design or something that people are just going to rip out because it's like done, like it's done to death. So I would just actually invest in good quality pieces that age well.
And does timeless design affect resale value?
I think so, definitely. Again, like with landscaping, that's huge on curb appeal. If you pop in some nice cypress trees, olive trees, you have a beautiful looking home. It's like the perfect recipe for like amazing curb appeal. And yeah, I definitely think it affects your resale value for sure. The materials you pick. Then again, don't do things for what other people are gonna like. I would design my house for myself, not for what someone's gonna like do with it 10 years down the line. But I would be mindful of like even myself. Do I want to rip this out in 10 years, or can I like change my accessories and will the space feel like new again? You know, so
Yeah.
just be a little more mindful about the base.
So agents, when you're advising clients on finishes, you should be saying to be mindful about what you pick, and pick things that you like and you think you will like 10 years from now as well.
Mhm.
I think that makes a lot of sense for agents.
Yeah.
You specialize in antiquing, finding antique pieces for contemporary Florida homes. How do you integrate antiques without making the space feel like a museum? Walk us through a find um, where you did that, how you source that.
So I think like unless you're now like on auction websites, it's very rare to come across actual artifacts at antique stores nowadays, but you will come across like better quality items for sure. I like to buy crystal. If I get lucky, I do find sterling silver sometimes at antique stores and thrift stores. So that's a great thing to incorporate into your home, and it does add extra value, like just having a nice sterling set or a nice sterling tea set or something.
Oh, I remember cleaning those when I was a kid.
I know, I still do it, but it's worth it because it really adds like a lot. I know. But
They turn green after a while, guys. But
you have
just
to do things like
it's a
every.
good story for your children. I was 8 when I started cleaning my parents' silver plates, and I had a really good experience on how to clean plates by the age of 16. I'll tell
Does your
you.
wife make you do it still, or are you guys
We
over
don't
that?
have sterling silver at home in my house. Not yet. At least we're still in like our 30s, so I think it's going to come eventually. But we're not
Eventually.
at that point. I think that to have those. My dad, they grew up way before us. My dad was born in 1941,
Okay.
so what they had in their house and what we have in our house is a different.
Exactly. Which is exactly this prompt is good because I think you need to also train your eye to be able to differentiate between a reproduction piece and like actual antiques. And there's like a huge difference. And my mom actually taught us at a young age because a lot of things are made to look old, but they're just not. And those might be the things that make your home feel bulky, like your grandma's house. Like Bear's furniture back in the day, like not now, but like back in the day, they'd like try to recreate like these huge like antique like buffet cabinets and stuff. But I don't think they look great. And I don't think because something is like necessarily old means that it looks good. I think you actually need to train your eye to source handcrafted pieces, solid wood pieces. And then again, it's all about balance. Like I'm not going to go out and just like buy a bunch of old stuff for your home, you know? Like you need those newer pieces to make everything feel new and fresh and kind of like present in this moment without feeling too modern.
I think you could commission those too. Like
For
have
sure.
have a furniture builder, local furniture
That's
builder,
even better.
build you a piece. Your whole house doesn't have to be filled with this.
I
You can
agree.
have one centerpiece item that is amazing. And yeah, this was like I sold this house in last year, no, 2023 in the summer. And it was old Spanish style look on Crescent Lake. It was fairly new, built in 2006. But they used the old door of the Ormond Beach Hotel, the original one,
That's
as
awesome.
their gate door. And from another door of the same hotel, they made the dining room table. And they took one of those old candelabra chandeliers from the
Mhm.
hotel, wired it for candle.
You know what I mean? And that's a one of a kind home now. Like no one's gonna have that.
Boom! They had
Like,
doors for their wine cellar, a window from the wine cellar that was inside the house, window covers, wooden window covers from an old house in Spain.
that's
400-year-old window doors. It's just,
like
I'm
that,
saying that.
that's like so cool to me. That's how I get inspired. I need to like meet people like this.
Yeah, yeah, and I love, and then the guy loved woodworking on the side. He's an IT guy, but he liked woodworking, so he built this ladder up into a loft area out of this really unique wood. And I was like, "You did such a cool job on this. It's awesome." And I mean, you could DIY something like that. You could DIY a bed easily. I've
Yeah.
seen multiple videos on how to build.
Reupholstering the headboard, like I've
Yeah,
seen people do that. That's really cool. I
really
wish
cool,
it was a little
unique.
more handy, but
Yeah.
wood is like really cool.
Oh, for sure. I agree with you, and it doesn't cost as much as commissioning a bed.
No,
But
like not at all.
but you could build super cool, unique looking beds out of wood from Home Depot and stuff, or you could go to a
And it's
lumber.
funny because a lot of the times, if you have the time and the skill to be able to do these things, it's a lot more cost effective than buying like pre-made things anyways. So it's cool. I love when people DIY things in their home. I think it's like so special.
Oh yeah, and that makes it unique, and you. That's what it does. Now let's talk about the people you design for, because your process is very personal.
Yeah.
How do you bridge the gap between what a client thinks they want and spatial reality that actually suits their lifestyle?
So I think mood boards and renderings are like the best way to kind of give them a little peek into what's to come. I do have to say, like, my renderings aren't super like 3D, like you can't walk through them and stuff. They're more so like flat renderings, but I still think it's enough to like show you how these textures and patterns and colors are going to go together in the functionality of a space. And I think they feel a lot more confident after seeing all of this. We start with them sending me inspo pictures, Pinterest pictures, and then once I create color palettes, they feel a little more comfortable. Then I create mood boards and they're a lot more comfortable. And then the renderings, they're like, okay, this looks great. And then we just begin.
Yeah, and how often do clients come in with a Pinterest board that don't match their actual life?
Honestly, I've had a few, but normally people are pretty practical and realistic. So I think I have to kind of take from them and they have to take from me. And when we find the perfect balance in between, that's when we kind of like start our project.
But how do you have those conversations without making them feel wrong? I know that's one of those. "Ooh,
Yeah.
how do I handle this?"
Normally, if it's something like if they want a huge piece in their room and it's just not going to fit or something like really crazy, a lot of times people don't even consider their own budget. Like a lot of times I have to budget everything out and show them like, okay, this is going to take you way over if this is what you want. And then they kind of like, oh, they're like, oh, I didn't even think about this and that. Or if it's like too big of a piece, I'll render it for them and then they'll kind of be like, okay, yeah, like maybe this is like not the right idea. Visuals, it has to be, people are very visual.
I've noticed that too. Like I'm really good at imagining things as a contractor, and I could like vision what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there are people, and I said this, to other designers on my podcast, that my wife is one of them, and I loved her to
Oh,
death, but she needs to see it
yeah,
before she can picture it. I
exactly.
can picture it before I even see it. Like I can see how it will look.
Is that you? Like you can picture it before you can like
Yes.
that's how I am too, but at the end of the day, we're both kind of like in a similar field. A lot of people aren't like that at all.
Yeah, and,
So
and and it was hard to understand that, because
yeah,
I walk through dilapidated homes all the time, or
and
not,
you're like,
not
this is a
really
gem.
well upkept, and I'm saying that, oh my God, this with like a nice oak-looking floor and
Exactly.
some beige paint or something, and new countertops will look awesome, and they're like, I can't see it, Lance. I don't want to make an offer on this house, and I'm like, this house, and then we walk into a house that has what I told them. And they're like, well, I want to make an offer on this one. It's like, that this is like $80,000 more than the house we looked at previously that could look better than this for less money.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I get this skill from my parents because my dad, he was like he used to flip homes for a living and they're very like creative people as well. So I completely understand you. It's kind of hard to like you sound crazy like explaining things and then you're like standing in like this like dilapidated home and they're just like, what are you talking about? But
Exactly. This is horrible. Like, oh, I want to run out of here.
exactly, exactly. It's a talent.
Well, I wouldn't call it convincing, but when you kind of they understand that how you're imagining it for them, and they're like starting to maybe understand when they like go home and research flooring, and now that the new stores like Floor and Decor and all these other places have the option to look at the space. You take a picture of the space, upload the picture, and they show you how the flooring would look like.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
helps so much for them to understand that
Technology
didn't
is great.
exist 8-9 years ago when I started my career, so it was so much harder to explain that. But
Because like
now,
even hand drawing like plans can be so hard sometimes. Like you really can't see the texture through everything. But I think technology is great, so it really helps a lot.
oh, it does. Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Rendering wise, too, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
I use it a lot. AI changed my life in construction, I'll tell you that. I'm not saying that it's 100% accurate because, yes, there's stuff that you can't build that it creates, but it could create a kind of feel of what you could get.
Exactly.
And then you could relay that. But look, our countertops are going to be a little different. Our cabinet color is
Yeah.
going to be
Yes.
different.
Which is why I always bring samples so they can feel what they're purchasing.
Yeah.
I think that really helps them a lot too. But
Yeah.
it'll never be 100% accurate. Even like when it's done, a photo of it won't be accurate until you're actually in the space, and then you're just like, oh my god, this looks
Yes.
different. Yeah.
Correct. It's like, trust me, I got
Mhm.
you. I understand what you want. Here's the questionnaire. You filled it out. I know exactly what you want.
It's a huge level of trust, but yeah.
Yeah. What does a truly bespoke client centric design process look like during the concept phase of a major residential overhaul in your book? And what questions do you ask that most designers skip?
So, are you like asking like what the process is for them to like be able
Yes.
to like plan a home?
Well, your process,
Okay.
and then
So
translate it to them, you know?
yeah, so my process begins with discovery. I spend a lot of time with my clients and I kind of get to know their daily routines, how they entertain, their schedules. So from there, I would kind of gather like visual inspiration and create mood boards and a cohesive concept that kind of balances like beauty and functionality and their lifestyle before moving forward. And then I ensure that all the concepts kind of take in their budget, their vision, and like their needs into account before we proceed.
Got you.
Yeah.
What questions do you ask?
Um, I, actually, one question that kind of becomes really important is how they eat dinner because I've noticed in the US, there's island seating, there's a breakfast table, and then there's a dining table. And I'm always like, do you really need all of this? Like, do you really need like three dining rooms essentially? And I'm just like, why not just make one nice dining room that's also a formal dining room where you guys can like sit down and have a nice dinner, and then you guys have like a bonus flex space. So I think like a lot of people are surprised with that question when I ask them because they never like realize that like, okay, this room doesn't have to be like a formal dining room. It can just be whatever I want it to be. And usually it's like a coffee room or a really cool bar or like a sunroom or something cool. But I think it's kind of reimagining your space a little more. Like I asked them like what like their dream room would be that they quite don't have in this home, and I try to like create it for them.
Got you. How long does discovery take before you pick up a single
Mm.
swatch?
It takes about, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Like I really like have a lot of questions. I have a lot of home visits to their home. I measure everything out. We start with the paint and kind of like the floors and things like that, and then I really try to like gather all the information I can about the tiny details like along the way. Yeah.
Got you. So that's what makes you unique about your process is the depth you go into discovery.
Also, I do take them shopping for like we do go thrifting or antiquing at least once or twice, just so I see what they reach for and gravitate towards. That way, I have a better understanding. And we
I
have mirrors.
I get it. I do the same thing with my clients when we go floor shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Construction, I take him as like, hey, let's meet there, and I'll show you what I mean by the floors that I envision here. And then I show them the different types of floors, and we do a lot of luxury vinyl planks nowadays. So I
They
show
look
them,
great, by the way.
yeah, I show them a micro groove compared to a
Exactly.
regular size groove, why I would pick one over the other, then the different styles, the different sizes. Like this will look like this in your home because they have those, boards on the wall. Do you want this look or this look or this look? Like
Yeah.
the different types of looks on the wall. And I try to, tend to nudge them in the direction I would love the house to go, because I've seen a lot of homes, and I
Yeah.
think, I think future, not
Yeah.
today. So they might pick something that's in today, and I say, look, this is a forever look, and this is a today look.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which
Completely
one do
agree.
you really want? Do you want a
Exactly.
today look, and then 5 years from
What's
now you
normally
call me
the
up?
answer? Like, what have you noticed? Like that they gravitate towards more.
It depends on the age of the client, but I have a lot of older clients, and the older clients tend to gravitate towards the classical old looks, but
Okay.
they're like either expired already and not in anymore kind of deal.
Okay.
And then the younger clients are fashion driven. This is what I saw on Pinterest. This is what's going on
Mm,
TikTok, and that's what they like.
right.
And then you just nudge them towards a more forever look. That's what I try to achieve with them. Is like, hey, I know you kind of saw this on TikTok and you showed me a video, and that's what you're thinking about getting, but that might be out of fashion in 5 years. Like the grays went out of fashion, pretty much.
Exactly.
You know,
I
like
actually have a hard time with gray myself, unless it's stone. I think it's like hard. I've actually had the opposite experience from you. I've
yeah,
noticed that the older crowd, especially design wise, they want like all the new stuff because they're so sick of all the pieces and the heft and everything and this and that. And then the younger crowd wants like the old stuff. And then I'm kind of here as like the bridge, like joining the two. So, but yeah, it's actually crazy when you think about how everyone's style is so
all the
different.
demographics different in Orlando compared to where I am.
It is.
That's also
Definitely actually, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
also something that people like to keep that old look in
Yes.
their home, but with new stuff. And I'm like, no, not really.
I completely see that because Deland, when I was in Deland, it was actually a lot different than Orlando.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. How do you curate personalized art and home goods that reflect the client's personal history while maintaining your design aesthetics? Do you ever push back when a client wants something that clashes?
So, once again, like I just get to know them a lot, uh, get to know them pretty well before we start styling. I also never style a project to completion. I don't want every surface like styled. I don't want every wall to be styled. I'll style it like probably 85, 90%, and then I'll leave like room for evolution and for them to maybe like say they like a piece of art like in a few years, they have like a wall to put the art up on, you know? So, and I think like I like to see what they have first, use everything, and then whatever space we have left, go and source things that are tailored to them. So if I'm buying a coffee table book, the content inside has to do with them, you know, like if they like a sports team, that's the coffee table book that they're getting, or just stuff like that. But it's all about being intentional, I would say. I did have one client that was obsessed with Disney, and it's very hard to make Disney chic. Like it is really, 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 really hard. And that was a huge struggle for me because every wall needed to be filled with Disney characters and everything needed to be Disney themed. And I kind of had a different approach on it. So I'd kind of take the magic of Disney instead of literal Disney and incorporate it into her house. So, for example, she had these lampshades and they looked like normal lamps, but then when you turned them on at night, there was like silhouettes of like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan like flying in the lamps. I know that's like so different than what I like normally do, but like it's just like things like that, like really understanding what they like and maybe they don't even know what they like want. Like I don't think she really wanted a life size cutout of Remy outside her room, which is what she asked for. But then instead I got her like this little lamp that was in the pantry where if you like turn it on, you can see like Remy like in the hat, like rummaging for food or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, look, Disney in my book is luxury in a way,
Okay. Yeah.
especially if you get vintage Disney, like
Which
vintage.
we I found so many vintage pieces from like the actual parks. Like their entryway light was an actual lantern from Magic Kingdom that I used, but you would never be able to tell. But it's still magical, you know?
Well, it's a story that comes with the item, and they can tell the story,
Exactly.
which then gives it value. And
Exactly. And I think she was so like happy with the final outcome because it wasn't so literal. Even like on her baseboards, I had a muralist hand paint like these little mouse holes and like Gus Gus and the other mouse like running
oh,
through them. Yeah.
that's cool. I
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
really cool.
We gotta love Disney in our area, and that would, if you could design something like that that works in Airbnbs, even better.
That's actually, yeah, a good point.
Just saying, like you could do something really cool
Yeah.
that is Disney driven or Universal driven or anything like that. Is like, hey, by the way, my company now does this as a specific sub
Right,
to
right.
my chic.
Yeah.
luxury look, you
Chic.
know?
Yeah.
All
Exactly.
right, Surya, let's zoom out. Big picture time. Where's all of this headed? Looking at the Central Florida market, how is the demand for luxury, custom tailored interior spaces shifting? And are more buyers demanding finished design spaces versus blank canvases?
I think there's a really big demand for it. When I first started, I actually thought my clientele was going to be a lot older, but there's a lot of young people who want like well-designed homes as well. And I think it's mostly people wanting their home to be feeling, they want to feel anchored in their home. And I think COVID was a huge shift for a lot of people. I think when people spent more time in their home, they realized how important it actually was. So there is a huge demand for it.
And how does the influx of new residents to Florida change what people want?
We're getting a lot of New Yorkers here. So, and we're getting I think, yeah, honestly, I have a good mix of people. I don't know if I could like pinpoint like a certain change, but I have noticed like there's a lot of like New Yorkers moving here and they're wanting slightly more sophisticated style. And then there's younger people like moving here and they don't really know what they want. So I'm kind of like there to help them. But there's so much diversity here, honestly.
Oh, there is plenty of nations
Yeah.
represented in our little area here in Central
Exactly.
Florida. I'm seeing this on the sales side too. Buyers want move-in ready, not projects. Especially the last few years when the interest rates shot up, they're like, you know what? Just get us something. Finished homes are moving much faster than
Yeah.
project homes.
Yeah.
People just don't want to spend the time on it or the money on it anymore.
Yeah.
Fresh better buy something move-in ready.
I agree. That's like most people though, because like at the end of the day, like people really don't want another thing on their plate. Like everything's so expensive. Everyone's working so hard. Everyone's this, everyone's that. You have kids. At the end of the day, like I think like a well thought out space and a well designed space is just like easy for a lot of people. That's why like if you choose like good quality like materials, it can kind of adapt to anyone's style. So that would be like my biggest point.
Practical question for everyone. If a homeowner wants to elevate their living room using items they already own, what's the first adjustment?
So again, we talked about this, but lighting is huge. I think I would just change all your light bulbs out for warmer lights and make it feel cozy. Light a candle. That's already half the battle because it doesn't feel so overwhelming and it feels calm. And it's so easy to just go grab like a vase from your pantry or wherever, go outside, cut a few branches off your trees, make this space feel kind of cozy, bring the outside in. And I think furniture layout's huge. A lot of people tend to push everything up against walls and it feels like very predictable and it feels like a very basic room. Pull things off the wall, make sure things are circulating well, make sure there's conversation pits everywhere. And I think that could make a huge difference in your home.
I like that. I like that. We pulled our couch off the wall too. I
Exactly.
think it,
And it looks better, right?
I think it looks better, but now I have to figure out the electricity part for for my couch, and eyesight. It's getting it's getting
Mm.
harder to read the subtitles from further away.
Oh, yeah. It has to be practical at the end of the day. Practicality is where you'll feel the most comfortable in your home.
What's the one thing most people get wrong about their existing space?
I think it's just like furniture layout again. And I'm trying to think. I don't necessarily think it's anything wrong, but maybe like the ratio of what materials they're using in their home. Like is there a good balance between the textures and fabrics and patterns you've used? Is everything very flat? Is there any like depth and interest and contrast? So I think once you like master that skill, you're able to kind of make every space look interesting.
You guys heard her tonight. Go home and do what she says. I think it makes sense. Last question.
Okay.
Beyond the projects, what is the ultimate legacy you want to build through Cashmere and Co. and your creative philosophy? What do you want people to feel when they hear your name, and where does Cashmere and Co. go from here?
So I recently got engaged right here. And it's
Congratulations.
been like really, thank you. It's been really exciting. And we're house hunting soon. And I'm very eager to get a house, not to decorate it and everything, but I really want to kind of branch off and do content creation and kind of teach people that design is not only like rearranging your furniture, it is a lifestyle. And I think once it clicks in your head, your whole life changes. the way you cook, the way you entertain, the time you spend with your family. Your home is very, very important. So I'm really excited to start content creating, and I think that's going to be like the next phase for Cashmere and Co. So I'm very, very excited.
Surya, this was the kind of conversation that makes you look at your own home differently. And I think that's the point. Quiet luxury isn't about spending the most money, it's about being the most intentional.
Yeah.
It's choosing materials that feel right, curating pieces that tell your story, and building a space that doesn't chase what's trending, it outlasts it. If you're ready to stop decorating and start designing, go find Surya, Cashmere and Co Interiors, cashmereandcointeriors.com. All the links are in the show notes below. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who keeps redecorating the same room every 2 years. They need to hear this. This has been Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable. Until next time, go build your kingdom. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.